Hey everyone, it's EmJems here, and today we're taking a look at the newly released Life is Strange 2 Episode 3 trailer. Episode 3 of Life is Strange 2 is going to be released on May 9th, so that's right around the corner. It's super exciting, and this trailer has a lot of little details in it that I feel like are easy to miss, so I thought that we would go through it a little bit more slowly and see if we can figure out what's going to happen this episode. I'm super stoked. I hope you guys are excited, so let's get into it.
Once upon a time, in a wild world.
So the first thing that we can see from the first few seconds of this trailer is that Sean is clearly having a nightmare about the events of the past few episodes, obviously with his dad, and then the events that took place with Chris. Obviously, you know, spoilers for the previous episode. If you happened to get that bad ending where Chris gets hit by a car, I'm really interested to see how that's going to factor into this episode. If there's going to be, you know, maybe a newspaper article about it or something like that, or if we're going to have any kind of contact with Chris or his dad. Like, I'm really interested to see what might happen. The other thing to mention is that the Life is Strange Twitter has posted a couple screenshots of Sean's journal that essentially gives a recap of the past, I don't know if it's been like a month or a little bit longer than that of their lives. And so basically the recap is that Sean and Daniel got work at this farm. They were pretty comfortable there for a little while, and then the guy, I don't know why, but he just kicked them out and threatened to call the cops, so they had to leave. And then I suppose that leads them to where they are now in California, kind of getting into a problematic situation. So let's keep going.
Ready when you are, young master. Daniel, that's amazing.
So obviously there has been a decent amount of time that has passed. Their hair is even longer. I love that the developers are putting that much effort into the small details like that. The one thing I noticed from that scene is, well, first of all, Daniel is wearing Mushroom's bandana, which makes me want to cry. And the other thing is that Daniel is clearly getting more powerful. He's clearly developing more control over what he's able to do. And Sean sounds kind of like he's stunned in a good way there, but the way that he kind of backs up makes me think that he is becoming a bit more afraid of Daniel and what he's becoming capable of. And I feel like that becomes more evident as the trailer goes on as well.
How do you feel with us misfits? Come on!
I actually feel free.
This place is great for inspiration.
To your next adventure.
So there's a lot to see in those few seconds there. Clearly Sean and Daniel have made it out to Cassidy and her band of misfits, as she calls them. They seem to be pretty close friends. It seems like there's definitely the potential for more to be happening between Sean and Cassidy. I wonder if that's going to be a choice, if we can kind of choose to romance her similar to Life is Strange 1. And I feel like I really like Cassidy so far as a character. She seems quite genuine, but of course anything could happen in this episode, and I feel like from this trailer there's a lot of ways that things could go wrong, but at least at this point they seem like for a certain amount of time that they were at least happy living here, and the way that Sean says he actually feels free, it's kind of nice to hear. But obviously it's Life is Strange and things are not going to stay nice.
How long are we gonna stay here? It's been like a month.
I know, but we need more money to get to Puerto Lobos.
Hey, pipe down back there. We're late. Come on, what are you waiting for?
There are dozens of hippies like yourselves begging for work in the next town, so move it.
I feel like I'm in prison.
That's it. Enough. You're being a brat.
So the first thing that I noticed from that section, obviously Daniel has says that they've been there for over a month. So they've been at this specific camp for over a month, working at this grow op, which seems to be not the best place. I think mostly from the people that are in charge. There's this guy we can see here, and also that other guy that seem pretty intense. So I don't think that we can trust them, obviously. They seem to be pretty unhappy at this point, and Sean says we need more money to get to Puerto Lobos. So clearly they are just here now out of necessity, and they're just trying to get the money to get the hell out of here. So I wonder if something kind of happens to spoil that initial first enjoyment of being here. The other reason that I paused on this part of the video is we can see that this guy is carrying a gun. There's another point in the video where we can see a guy carrying a much bigger gun. So that has me worried immediately. There's already obviously been gun violence in this game, and the guns make me worried for Sean and Daniel, but mostly I'm worried about these other characters like Cassidy and Finn and the other group of misfits that we're working with, because we can see from the previous episode, you know, what happened to Chris. I feel like maybe something similar is going to happen here, and I certainly think that it's probably going to involve Daniel and his powers and us making a choice, and I'm worried that they might actually kill somebody in this episode, because we don't actually know what happened to Chris. We know, like, if you get that one particular ending, he gets hit by a car. I feel like he doesn't die. I feel like he probably just gets injured, but I feel like the developers would be more willing to kill one of these characters off, because it's episode 3 now, and what we know from the original Life is Strange, episode 3 ended on a massive cliffhanger that I think shocked a lot of people, and I feel like maybe they're gonna go for that in this episode too, so it has me hella worried, you guys. I am so worried that someone is gonna get hurt and that we're gonna be responsible for it. So I feel like with the guns, that's kind of what they're going for. So let's just go back a little bit here for a second.
For work in the next town, so move it.
I feel like I'm in prison.
That's it. Enough. You're being a brat.
Leave me alone! Wish I could have a normal life.
You okay, mijo?
I think about what happened. I just want to rage.
On the ground, now!
I miss Dad.
I'm so sorry, Daniel.
So something that I have actually been seeing a lot of since this trailer came out is people calling Daniel a brat the same way that Sean does, and saying that they don't like Daniel's character anymore. They're ruining Daniel's character. He's becoming so annoying. But this is really, really surprising to me that people have this opinion, because clearly Daniel is traumatized from what's happened to him. He's 9 years old. He's lost his dad. He partially blames himself for it. And now his whole life has been uprooted and has just become so complicated, and he doesn't even understand what's going on from one day to the next. You know, obviously Sean has a massive responsibility on his shoulders, trying to, you know, take care of him and his brother. But I feel like for Daniel, he probably feels very powerless in his life situations, despite like having the responsibility of this supernatural power. It makes me really sad to hear Daniel say things like, I wish I could just have a normal life, or I think about it and I just want to rage. Because nothing about his life is normal anymore, and he doesn't have any coping strategies or any ways to deal with this pain that he's going through, so he's lashing out using this power. I feel like most of us at 9 years old would probably have that response, so I feel like we need to have a lot more sympathy and be a lot more understanding of what Daniel's going through. Obviously, Sean is trying his best, but the way that they have built Sean's character up to this point, they've really focused on Sean doing anything he can to not only protect Daniel, but also keep the powers a secret. So those are kind of the two main priorities, and it's been a little bit less about being there for him emotionally. I certainly don't blame Sean. He's only 16. He probably doesn't know the best way to go about that. And it's definitely going to be difficult for him to watch his brother pull away from him. I mean, that makes me really sad to watch that as well and see him develop friendships with other people. But I am glad that someone like Cassidy, I mean, what she just said there, it seems like she's trying to be really understanding of what he's going through. And that's why I think that she is such a genuine person. And I'm glad that they found each other.
You can't change the past, so you just gotta focus on what's next. Oh, you're awesome!
Is Sean jealous?
No. Just want him to be safe.
So here we can see that Daniel is starting to develop a relationship with Cassidy's friend Finn. It's clear to me that Sean is bothered by this, despite the fact that he says he just wants him to be safe. I totally believe that, but I think it is bothering him more than he's letting on. The character of Finn to me is kind of a question mark. I feel like we can trust him to an extent. I feel like he has good intentions and he wants to be there for Sean and Daniel and befriend them, but I feel like he's going to cause problems, even if they're unintentional problems. So the other thing that I noticed from this shot is that looks like a little girl to me. And so I wonder if there are other kids living here. and other kids are a part of this. And I wonder if that means that Daniel's going to befriend any of them. I'm not really sure if that will be the case, just because it specifically shows him bonding with Finn and with Cassidy as well. But that's kind of interesting to me. I really did not think that there would be other kids here, and it also kind of calls into question the authority figures that are working here and are in charge. It makes me see them as even less trustworthy if they would even allow kids to be around this. So that's really interesting.
I want him to be safe.
Just try to be there for him.
The more you try and control him,
Stop, Daniel. Hey!
Your face!
the less you have.
I said stop!
Don't grab me!
Okay, that part of this trailer makes me really upset, actually, to see Sean reach out for Daniel and for him to push him away like that so violently. I actually think that Finn has given us a really good piece of advice here, that the more you try to control him, the more he's gonna push you away, and the more potentially angry he's gonna get. And it's really interesting because when I was playing the last episode, I said that I wanted Daniel to kind of become more of his own person and make his own choices. Before this trailer came out, I was thinking maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe we should try to control him more because he's just a kid. He doesn't know how to handle these powers. But now I think I'm going back to my original idea that, you know, if we do try to control him too much, he's gonna get really angry and it's gonna backfire. Clearly Daniel is not interested in listening to Sean and being controlled by Sean anymore, and I think the Misfits probably have had a little bit of an influence on that. This part that we've just paused at now, there's lots of guns in this shot, so don't love that. As with any Life is Strange game or episode, it's really hard to know how your choices are going to pan out, but I really do feel like if we try to control Daniel too much, it's going to be a problem and it's going to backfire and it could lead to somebody getting hurt or killed. I also found myself, when I was playing the first 2 episodes, really feeling like the one goal that I wanted was, I mean, first of all, to keep them alive, but also to keep their relationship strong, and I feel like that's going to be a massive challenge in this episode. I'm not really sure how we're even going to be able to do that the way that Daniel seems, and maybe they're going to have to kind of fall away from each other for a little while before they can come back to one another. But I just hope that we don't get, like, split up. That's my other fear.
Don't pull a kid into your stupid crap.
Your brother needs a lesson. You all need a lesson.
What are you doing? It's my power, not yours.
What the?
I'm not a kid anymore.
I'm just going
So this is the point in the trailer where I feel like we really cannot completely trust Finn. The way that Cassidy is getting so angry at him, shoving him, saying, don't pull a kid into your stupid crap. We don't know exactly what that entails, whether she's talking about the job that they're doing or something else completely different. But I also wonder if maybe she's referencing the fact that Daniel is starting to really trust Finn and maybe wanting to even, like, go with him or something and even leave Sean behind. That feels pretty extreme, so I don't know if that would be the case, but it's a possibility. And I feel like if Cassidy is turning on Finn, who seems to probably be like the person she's closest to, she's obviously developing a very close relationship with Sean and wanting to defend him and Daniel, of course, and protect the both of them. So this is the other guy that is in charge at this place, and the way that he says your brother needs a lesson obviously makes it seem like Daniel is not only being defiant with Sean, he's also probably not listening to these guys in charge or following any of the other kinds of rules. So that's getting these guys pissed off, which makes me nervous because they have the guns. So I wanted to play back this part of the trailer really slowly so that we can see what happens here. That guy pushes Sean, and then it shows like the 3 of them, Sean, Daniel, and Finn, kind of like almost like they're running away or they're doing something in the dark there. So I don't know if they're trying to like get out of this place. I don't know if they're trying to steal something, if they're trying to sneak somewhere, but it looks like they're getting into trouble there, or maybe they're trying to get away from people that are targeting them. Another very important note is that we could see a dog down in the corner, and there was another shot at the beginning of the trailer where there was Daniel and a dog. So I wonder if he's going to try to bond with this new dog, or if what happened with Mushroom is going to be too much for him and he will kind of push it away as well. For some reason, that feels kind of significant to me, and I feel like maybe depending on how we made choices with Daniel and Mushroom and like what we said at Mushroom's funeral and stuff like that, I feel like that might influence the way that Daniel interacts with this dog. I feel like that may seem insignificant, but it might potentially be a little bit telling about the way that Daniel is going to progress. Maybe if he's willing to let another, dog in, he won't be as angry and aggressive. But I don't know, maybe that's not relevant. That's just kind of the feeling that I get from it. The other thing that we can see here is that Daniel's clearly using his power, and then we see Sean and Cassidy running. So obviously they are going to find out about it, at least Cassidy will. I think Finn probably will too. And clearly Daniel has becoming significantly more powerful. Look how scared Sean looks here. And then we have the final part of the trailer where, of course, Daniel picks up this giant thing, drops it back into the water, and walks away saying, "I am not a kid anymore," which honestly kind of breaks my heart a little bit. I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen to Daniel, and despite what we try to do with Sean in terms of protecting him and trying to maintain, his childhood and his innocence, like, too much has happened and so much has been stripped away from him. So I don't know if it's going to be possible to kind of even influence him in any good way. Maybe he's just meant to go on this certain path, and all we can do with Sean is try to keep him from going too far in the wrong direction, and maybe keep trying to influence him to use his powers for good and not for, like, hurting people. I feel like that's definitely going to be a theme that we have to deal with again, similar to episode 2 when we had to decide whether to let him kill the cougar or not. And I think if you had let him do that, he's probably going to be more aggressive this episode, and probably more willing to even hurt somebody. I think especially with these two guys that are in charge of this place, I don't think Daniel is going to like them, and I think if either of them try to hurt Sean, Daniel's probably going to lash out and potentially hurt one of them. That's a really tough situation, because do we let Daniel save Sean and use the powers and potentially hurt somebody, or do we let something happen to Sean or one of the other characters and not let Daniel use it just to try to keep him on a better path? That is a really tough call to make, and that is the type of decision you have to make in Life is Strange. So I'm really nervous about it. I'm really excited. I want to know what you guys think about this trailer, about what you think is going to happen in the next episode. So let me know down below in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts and your theories. Anyway, if you guys are interested in seeing what choices I made in the first 2 episodes of Life is Strange 2, I will link those down in the description. You guys can go have a look. And of course, I will be playing episode 3 of Life is Strange 2 when it comes out on May 9th. I'm super stoked for it. I hope you guys are excited as well. You can also find me on Twitter at EmJemsYT. I'll probably be tweeting about this all week because I'm such a massive Life is Strange fan. So if you guys want to chat, that is also a good place to get in touch with me. But for now, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.